not that Debbie or I'm not that bathtub girl anymore. I'm not that anymore. And I think that being in that atmosphere sometimes brings about that old feeling just because people tend to continue to treat us or not treat us, but respond to us the way they did when we were young. And so I personally took it upon myself, and I mean this too, I'm even treating my children different when I had this big awareness of that. And it's sort of a shedding of things. Did that just make any sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And another thing that's kind of an adjunct to what you said is that children tend to pick up the weirdest tension patterns from the adults around them. So, kids will usually tend to move and to hold themselves and to contort themselves and to tense themselves in the same way that their parents do. And so, if we've got some weird tension or compression patterns going on, in all likelihood the kid will pick it up, particularly the really weird tension patterns, because for some reason kids just really glomp onto that. So, often we'll pass on, all our own weird compression patterns. And, the poor kid is, 10 years old and they're already walking around like they're 50.
Yeah, they're cowering down to the brother that used to beat the crap out of them when they go home for Christmas. They walk in, and the first thing they see eye to eye is that brother that used to beat the crap out of them. And they all of a sudden, in their mind, they turn and they're 9 years old again, and there stands the enemy across the room, the nemesis. When, in fact, it's just your brother, and he's now an old man. He's 57 years old. But in our mind, we see that brother. And we start to sink in, we suck in, we retract, what'd you call that? We
take that anxiety and we kind of push it down into our stomach, and then, the bile kind of rises up, and, we might even want to, vomit because we're pushing down,
or
clenching
run.
so hard. That's what causes sore stomachs and panic attacks.
There you go. This is great, people. This is great.
The Cherokee tribe, they call that place where you stuff all the toxic things down, they call that the key, and they have really good posture if you're around full-blood Cherokee people. My daughter's half, her biological father is full-blood, and he has some of the best posture. I wonder.
Yeah, I can imagine, because I suspect he's not sitting behind a desk all day.
Oh, he's not. He's a big mess, but, his whole family has really good posture, and some of them sit behind a desk and some don't. But it's a cultural thing with them.
I was in 20 years of boot camp training with a Marine Corps drill sergeant. Good morning. You think we had posture problems? We would dread going to dinner at night. My brother would call home and go, well, because my dinner with a Marine is a big deal. Number one,
I don't know.
You don't talk.
Mm-hmm.
You don't talk. And if you talk, you better look eye to eye. And he would take those two fingers and go, right here, Deborah. It was just weird. But he taught me a lot of things that people over the years have noticed about me. When I speak to you, I will look at you straight in your eyes, and I'm very bothered when people talk back to me and don't look at me. And I hate that, and I'm always thinking all these strange thoughts. So it's really weird. I think it's weird. I think a lot of it is just learned and force of habit, and we just need to let some things go and realize that everybody else is wrong. And no, I'm joking. I'm sorry. But seriously, I think that this is great. And is there a book on this somewhere? Now, you said you wrote 5 books. Do I dare?
Yeah, none of them are on the Alexander Technique, but there are some good books on the Alexander Technique. One that's coming to mind right offhand is called Body Learning by Michael Gelb.
Mm-hmm. Body Learning.
But realize that 99% of people, will read a book on Alexander Technique and it won't make any difference in them, how they use themselves. This is most 99% of the time you're going to need to find a teacher, or just watch some videos on the Alexander Technique on YouTube, and you'll get a lot of you might get some benefit from that. Reading books is fun. I really enjoy reading books on the Alexander technique, but I have to be realistic and say that for 99% of the people, it's not going to be able to affect their tension patterns.
Well, it says here in late 2010 in the Dallas Morning News, the article said Alexander technique helps reduce chronic back pain. And it says Anna Zimmerman's back pain consumed her to the point that she could not even lift her arm for a month, which worried the aspiring violinist. The 21-year-old University of North Texas student saw doctors who ran tests and prescribed medicine, but nothing relieved it until 2 years ago. She paid a visit to Phyllis Richmond, who offers a remedy called the Alexander technique, a century-old method used by performers to improve their posture and coordination. Since then, Zimmerman's pains have decreased and her movement has become restored again. Quote, after a month, I was able to hold my violin for 3 minutes without dying, Zimmerman said. Over the course of 6 months, I became able to get back into practicing and pursuing my career. The Alexander technique is getting attention from researchers. A 2008 British medical journal study said a handful of lessons in the technique along with exercise can reduce symptoms among sufferers of chronic pain. It's tempting to think of the technique as akin to a mother saying, don't slouch, sit up straight, but it's more than that. The technique is not therapy, it's not medicine, and it's not a massage. Richmond says it is, quote, posture and coordination re-education. Richmond, a former dancer, whom the American Society for the Alexander Technique lists as the only certified teacher in the Dallas area, says people develop bad habits over time in how they sit, stand, and move around. That eventually will cause them great pain. Quote, if you think that in order to play the piano you've got to raise your shoulders, which a lot of people do, then that's what you're going to do. Now, that's highly inefficient, and can cause pain, injury, and at the end of a career, you're left just broken. In their lesson, Richmond had Zimmerman sit with back straight, head and neck held high, spine extended, and most important, relaxing of muscles. Then Richmond and Zimmerman slowly mimic a violinist or violinist? Violinist movements without the violin, all the time using the least amount of effort and tension. Phyllis is able to help my body relax, release, and restore with very little reliance on me. And it goes on to talk about her voice, and it says right here, well, listen to this. The technique was developed in 1890 after a case of laryngitis. F.M. Alexander, an Australian actor, closely watched himself and saw that tension and stress in his head and neck contributed to the condition. He moved to London, wrote a bunch of books, began teaching the technique, and trained others to teach it. And he has served John Cleese, William Hurt, Kevin Kline, have touted the benefits. Besides the British study, doctors have said little about the technique. Dr. Anjali Shawn, an assistant professor at the University of Texas Southwestern's Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation Department, says that the technique gets more attention in Britain and Europe than in America. Also, she says many performers use it along with other techniques. It's very hard for people to follow the exact teachings of it, Shawn says. I don't know many people who use just one. It's usually a potpourri of things. Richmond agrees that the Alexander technique is not a quick fix. After all, after 2 years of lessons, she still refers herself as just a mere beginner. But it sounds like it's a really good thing, and we actually have somebody here locally in Dallas. So there you have it.
Awesome.
Wow,
so
that's a great article.
Are you in Australia or are you in England?
I'm in Beverly Hills.
Yummy.
Are you really?
I am.
You are. Now,
this is getting better and better, Debbie.
It can get real good, but we're not going to let it go there.
Now,
you actually wrote a little bit with a thing that is known as, I could be wrong, Big Hollywood. Is that what it was, or am I wrong?
Oh, Andrew Breitbart, the owner of Big Hollywood, is a friend of mine. So I've interviewed Andrew on many an occasion, and so we kind of run in some similar journalistic circles. So
I have no idea how I found you.